All right, I am back for another video here. Let's talk about clubs. So earlier today I posted a video. I'm going to put these, I have a playset, the AAA playset, and so that way it'll show up if you search my playsets by alphabet, it'll always be at the top. And so I'll put these in that playlist, and there's other videos like older videos and stuff for wind rings and doing stuff. So if you see something in that playlist, there's info in there. Some of it's really old, still the same. So let's talk about clubs. So we talked about wind ring numbers, so knowing how to calculate our numbers for different clubs. So now it's like, what clubs do we bring as we have choices in our bag? So like if you've got lower developed stuff, you don't have a lot of options here. So like I don't have a lot of options in driver, but I do have the right option. So I've got, like if I look at where my clubs are at, the rock is going to come out of your bag only occasionally, and there's some par threes in this game and possibly some par fours where the rocket would be the club to bring, even though it doesn't have the distance. The thing is it has really good accuracy. It's got great backspin. And this is a par three. There's a few of the par threes I can think of. Got great ball guide. So there are some times where you could use your rocket as a specialty club, and some, even when it gets maxed out, it gets all of its backspin. So that's the benefit there. The rock, when it gets up to, there will be times when the rock will be interchangeable with the QB. So if we use our QB here, select it, versus a rock. When the rock gets all of its stuff, it's almost as powerful as an extra mile. It's got 100% accuracy. It's got mid-level topspin. Its weakness is topspin. It's got decent backspin because I don't use my accurate club for a lot of backspin shots. But when I do, I don't need any more than that. Curl, and if I do, I can go back to the rocket. Curl, it's got max curl. That, which is awesome, because a lot of those times where you do a max overpower hook shot, you can do with a rock, because a rock hits almost as far as an extra mile, and it has about the topspin that you're disappointed with in an extra mile until it gets to level 9. But that curl that's on there, the shot is almost the same result that you get with some of the old max overpower hook shots, but you can do it with just normal curl and no overpower with 100% accurate club that's got great ball guide. I mean, the rock is awesome when it gets to level 8, and when it gets to level 9, it gets even better. So the rock is definitely, as you go up, a club worth investing in, but it doesn't hit its prime. There'll be times when it'll be interchangeable with the QB, where it'll be right there at it, and it has just a little bit more distance. And so it'll raw distance. And so the rock will be kind of interchangeable with it, and the ball guide's always good. So those are clubs that, depending on the situation, either one of them could work. Thor's hammer, when you get it to level 5, is when a Thor's hammer is like, hey, remember me? And when it gets maxed out, when it gets to level 5, let's go to Golf Clash Notebook and look at the Thor's hammer when it gets to level 5. Let's go up to drivers. So the rocket, as soon as you get your extra mile, you're still going to use that combo between the extra mile and the rocket, because your rocket's going to be your accurate club. It's got pretty decent accuracy right from the get-go. And then as soon as you get your quarterback's going to kind of start taking its place, especially when you get your quarterback to level 5. But when you get it to the 80% accuracy, then it's a club to start, especially when it gets to level 4 and it gets to 3.1 ball guide. Anything over the 2 is going to be helpful. So there'll be a time when it will overtake your rocket, and your rocket will no longer be your accurate club. Then you'll be extra mile and quarterback. And you'll be working on your big topper, and your big topper is a specialty club. And there's times when, even though it doesn't hit as far as an extra mile, you'll net more yardage with your big topper because it has 100 topspin. So if you brought out a Titan with an extra mile, and you brought out a big topper with an extra mile, or with a Titan, get my mouth to work, the king of balls, you're going to net more yardage with your big topper. And so there's times when it's usable, especially when it starts to get some accuracy when it gets to the 2.5. Here's where accuracy screws you up. Here's your rings. This is your center ring, your bullseye. And here's your rings out here like this, right? And you got, I don't even know what the colors are. This is your blue ring. And this is like some color like this, orange ring. Okay, and you got your yellow ring in the center. So where ball guide messes you up is you've got, think of these right here, like this distance. Okay, that's your ring width, whatever that happens to be. So if it's an accurate club, it's got this ring distance, and if it's an inaccurate, let's say it hits 1 per ring, it's got this. It hits 2 per ring, it's got this. It hits 3 per ring, it's got this. So you started off with just this little area, and you hit a grate to the left, to the right. And let's draw these lines over here on the left. Okay, this is your area. This is your ball center, and you hit a grate to the right, a 1 ring grate to the right. Well, 1 ring with this club is just this. Okay, you're still good to go. I mean, it might hit to the center of this other ring right here, but that right there is not that big of a swing. But you hit a 1 ring grate to the right with this club that hits 3 per ring, then you could be over here, or you could be on the other side of that over here, and that's a big deal. So that's where the accuracy on those clubs. So when you think of accuracy, I don't know, like whatever you have pictured in your mind as far as this accuracy number goes, this is how that accuracy works. So that's why you want a club that's more accurate, because the rings are smaller. There's more room for error. When you watch other people's videos and they're showing where they set up shots and they're on the fringe like this, here's the rough, and here's the fairway, and they put, I'm always a minimum of 2 rings off of this transitional surface. There's no way that I want to be any close. Why? I'm setting a shot up to get out here to whatever. Are you telling me that you can't set that shot up by being 1 ring out and still set the shot up? I always set up 2 rings off, because the deal is, why would I want to pinch myself on a shot that I'm setting up? That means if I come over here and I'm only 1 ring off and I hit a grate to the left, I'm in the rough. And the whole idea here is to hit the fairway. I would rather hit a grate to the left and end up in the fairway and then not make the shot that I was looking for, than to hit a grate to the left and end up in the rough over here, and now I'm in the rough. That wasn't the way that the shot should be set up. And if I'm putting any kind of curl on a shot, I usually like to be I like to be 3 rings off, but sometimes I'll be willing to give myself 2.5 if I have supreme confidence. But I don't normally go any less than 2.5. So setting that up. So accuracy plays a big deal with these clubs. So like when you've got lower developed clubs, this big topper has bad accuracy. So you're not going to bring this out of your bag very often, but it's a club that you want to get opened up, because there are times during tournaments that the big topper is the club to open up. So it's a club to worth opening when you get it. The quarterback is definitely worth opening when you get it. It starts, and then you can get it to like level 2, where it gets some more of its ball guide, and then save your cards on it, and you don't really have to spend the cash when you get to level 3 unless you have it. But you can hold off on this card until it gets to level 4. And when it gets to level 4, you can pop this one out, and then you'll pick up some more ball guide, and that's where it really starts to get good, is when it gets that ball guide. At level 5, it's really good, because it gets to 100% accurate. This is a milestone in this club, is this level right here. And then at the end, it gets 218. So as far as distance goes, it's still a pretty good distance club. But the rock overtakes it when the rock gets to level 8. Because up to that point, the rock's been better. But it does have more raw distance. If you compare the rock, let's look at like some of the lower levels. So if we're at level 4, these levels right here, we're at 222 versus 203. So that extra distance that they gave the rock, they had a buff right before they did the max club card trading. And this card got some raw distance, so that kicked it up. So this club is definitely going to be in the works. 215, 65 accurate. Where does it get its accuracy? At level 3, at that 86. That's a milestone for it. That's a big jump. It becomes in this range right here. So like just looking at your rock, just trying to get it up to like level 3, it becomes a very usable club. Let's look at the other numbers. Top spin, backspin, 22. This is always its weakness, is top spin. It has some raw distance, and there are times when you need raw distance and you don't need top spin because you're engaging a little bit of this backspin. And those are the times when then in tournaments that you'll use the rock instead of using the quarterback. But in most cases, you'll still use the quarterback because it gets its accuracy and gets its stuff. Those clubs can be interchangeable though with the new changes. Thor's hammer at level 5. This is the club we were talking about, level 5 right here. 232. That's extra mile distance, 64 accurate versus at that point, if you got your Apocalypse to level 4 at 66. So similar distance. 85 topspin versus 64. That 85 topspin's big because you can stretch that thing out there and get all kinds of stuff done with it. Or excuse me. Yeah, level 5. I'm sorry. My mistake. 67. 67 topspin. That's still awesome. And what does the Apocalypse have? 67 versus 64. No, 64. Yep. So it's very similar. So now it matches up with your Apocalypse in that stat. Backspin 74 versus 42. And that's more than the extra mile's got. So it's got more backspin than him. And then at level 6, it gets that 97 boost. That is huge. It's got 41 curl, which is about probably where your extra mile's at. So the Apocalypse is gonna smoke it in curl. And then ball guide at 3.8, which is there's a lot of times where a ball guide is helpful with a driver, especially when you're going down into a hole. You can see a lot farther down that hole. You don't get that kind of ball guide until you get Apocalypse to level 7. So the Thor's hammer at level 5 is definitely a club to start thinking about. And there's times in there where you're going up where the Thor's hammer may be the club to use on that hole. In Apocalypse, when it gets to level 2, it's usable. And there are some holes where it works. It's actually the club to have. And then at level 3, it definitely becomes usable. And at level 4, like if you're working the club card trading, you can get your Apocalypse to level 4. That'll become a usable club in your bag. The jump from 4 to 5, I think, is what? From 20, I think you got to get, 50 cards to get to level 5? 50, 100, 200, 400, 1,000, 2,000. So you'd have to get 50 cards for it. So if you've got but you only had to get 20, 30, 34 cards to get it to this point right here to level 4. So if you're getting your Apocalypse in the club card trading and you don't have it to level 4, it's worth, that's 11 times in the store and getting lucky and getting one card. And then you can hold off on it and then invest in another epic to get another epic up. So if you've got bigger clubs and you're upgrading them, that's a great way to go on it. Apocalypse. But if you got lower developed stuff, it's definitely, you're going to want to, as far as drivers go, you're definitely going to want to be very selective about what you have in your bags. And so you got to think of it as accuracy, distance, and curl. I mean, I think of my big topper. I like the big topper, even though it's not very accurate. And it's much better when it starts getting its accuracy. The big topper is a great club. There's a lot of stuff you can get done with a big topper, especially in concert with the big dog. Those clubs have the same features. They have very little accuracy, but they've got good power, and they both have good topspin, and they both have good curl. Their main things are topspin and curl, and the big dog's got power. The big dog almost hits as far as this. just a little off. 180 versus 217. I mean, that's not that big of a swing. Woods. This Guardian is definitely usable, but with 1.9 ball gate, if it had like 2.3 and I could get this up, then that would be awesome. I got this in the Golden Shot, so it's a T5 club, but I have T5 open, but I haven't played any T5, so. But I have used this several times in a tournament because sometimes it doesn't matter about the ball guide. You just want to get up on the green with this low level account and get your birdie and move on to the next hole. Horizon. I used the Horizon this last tournament because it had that topspin and I was able to do a rough bump, even though it has low accuracy. If you made a great wind adjustment, but the best opportunity for Albie on that hole with this account was a rough bump with that Horizon. So one of my teammates posted a video on that shot, and he was absolutely right. That's a great way to go out. I changed for this account just with the Horizon, and I almost regret not having done the same thing in my main account because that was a really good shot, and I was putting myself right in the right spot to make that shot if I'd have brought out a Horizon. Long irons with a low level account. One of my teammates, Des, posted with the Goliath as far as distance. And you know, the thing, you're absolutely right, Des. And one of the things about the Goliath that I discount, and this is my error, is that some of these clubs I play day to day with a Backbone and a Saturn. And when I get a Grizzly up in this account, like in my main account, I play day to day with a Grizzly. Once they change the Grizzly's the club. If you've got a upper level 7 or level 8 Grizzly, a level 6, it's better than a level 10 Backbone. So at that point, it's a better club. It doesn't have the backspin that a Saturn has. So a Saturn will become a specialty club that's only used in tournaments on holes where I want all my clubs to be backspin. And I have supreme confidence in my Saturn numbers. I played it for a long, long time. And so, but the Grizzly is definitely a club. But the Goliath in this combination right here, there are holes out there where you're doing a rough bump. And like there was a hole in this last tournament on hole number 6. And I was bringing out a Backbone because it's more accurate. And I have an upper developed Goliath in my other account. And so it's right, close to 50. So, I mean, it's not that inaccurate. Those are workable numbers. And you could go out there and do because it was so powerful, you could get into the spot to do the rough bump from the area I was landing by bringing out a Goliath instead of bringing out my Backbone. So I sacrificed accuracy, but I had that shot every single time I got on the hole if I would have brought out a Goliath. And instead of going that way, on the very last time I went through there, I finally figured it out, and I brought a 2 power ball instead of a 3 power ball and was able to get into the absolute perfect spot. Another part that was my mistake on that hole is I was dinking around at the beginning of the week, and I was doing the max overbar hook to remind myself how to do it. And I wasted like 2 solid practice rounds practicing the max overpower hook when I knew that I could figure it out, refigure it out, but I knew that I wasn't going to use it in the tournament because it would be too risky. And that rough bump is the way to go. And so instead of practicing the shot that I knew I should have been practicing, I wasted my time and practiced that max overpower hook. And I regret having done that because I would have figured that out, at least the ball thing. I may have still came with a Backbone and just changed my ball. I could have went with a 2 power low wind ball and went out there and tried to get into that same spot so that I was in, instead of my Backbone, I would be in my sniper. My buddy Mike went out there. Me and him talked about it on the phone, and he went one way and I went the other. I went out and used the Katana. So I went to a low end 3 side spin ball, 2 power, and he went out there. We talked about bringing out a 4 power ball. And instead of hitting it with a 3 power ball, hit it with a 4 power ball because the 4 power ball is not going to help you on the drive. But what it did do is it helped you on the other end. It put you deeper into your club because you had a 4 power ball. And he was right where he needed to be with the Backbone. So he brought out a 4 power ball and was able to achieve the same deal. But there are times when the Goliath would definitely work, and I discount it because I don't normally play with the Goliath, but I definitely will start looking at it as a club to use when I'm in those situations because that's definitely another option. The thing about the Goliath that I didn't like was here's your red line between your long iron and your wood, and between your long iron and your short iron. Okay, so here's those transitional lines, and because this club hits max distance up here with your wood, the transitional line, the red line between your long iron and your wood, is instantaneous. And when you play with a Saturn, or a backbone, where there's going to be a definable red line here, you can push up against that red line, and there's almost that resistance, even though you're not. You can feel where the ball, you have to actually pull it past where you should be pulling it to break the red line. It wants to ride across it. And when I had the Goliath, I didn't experience that. Like the transitional line between long iron and wood was instantaneous, like 1 second. And so the other way, you can push up against the red line if you have any forward moving wind, side wind, or whatever. As long as it's forward moving, you can push up against that red line and you can slide it around that red line until you get to the spot where you've opened up the fairway. You got 2 rings of separation, and it's like, okay, how much curl do I have to put on it? And I don't get that effect with the Goliath, and it actually affects my game because I hit a lot of those shots when I'm playing one-on-one, where I come in and put curl on it and bring it back around to the hole to come at it from a different angle that's super safe. It starts me off in the fairway and try and bring it around. And I didn't get that experience with the Goliath, and that's one of the reasons why in my game I actually I had a hard time playing with it. But if you're bringing it out on those holes where you're trying to do those rough bump type shots, or you're in that spot just in a tournament, this definitely would be a club for me to start thinking of when I'm in that spot. You're right. Absolutely right. Some of these clubs that are down here, when these get upper developed, are like absolutely, lots of power, 100% accurate. The Grizzly's the one. The Grizzly gets up. Down here, Hornet, when it gets to level 9, it's 100% accurate. Great distance, great top spin. Has enough backspin. I hardly ever find the Hornet wanting, and its power is good, so it's easy to get into your Hornet range, and it's got great accuracy and it has great ball guide. I mean, it has great curl, but the curl doesn't come into play. If you're in your short iron and curl's an issue, you're in the wrong spot. But that Kingfisher gets really good when it gets up there, gets max. So does this Falcon. And there's a lot of good clubs that are up here when they get maxed out. But that Hornet will be the one that once you start getting the accuracy on it, it's the club. Once you get it, it pretty much becomes the club. As soon as it gets more accuracy than that Kingfisher, I'll switch to my Hornet. Then at some point, my Kingfisher may get back up in there, but the Hornet will be a better club when it gets more accuracy. Wedge. It's going to be, for me, it's going to be Firefly, Rapier, and when I get my Imbringer to level 7 or 8, I'm going to switch to an Imbringer. But these clubs, the Firefly and a Rapier, play very similarly. And what you're looking for is that top spin. So as soon as the Rapier, and I think it's like level 2 or 3, it gets there, it gets almost the same top spin, and it starts to get some ball guide. And once it gets to like level 2 or 3, then it gets the place of the Firefly, and the Firefly is not coming back in the bag. And then when it gets maxed out, it's got lots of stuff. But at level 7 or 8, you'll switch to an Imbringer, because the Imbringer finally gets the top spin that the Rapier has, so you can do either shot. And it has more, it's just, like all around, it's a better club. And I think it gets more ball guide than any other club out there, or one of the highest. Rough iron. Mike D and I were talking about the off-roader. When the off-roader gets maxed out, how awesome it is. 100% accurate. Rough iron, max distance. So it's up there in the Rapier, and then Nirvana and Amazon, those ones that get max distance. Tons of topspin. That's got to be every bit of 90. It's got to be over a 90 backspin. So there isn't much you can't get done with this. Decent curl. Good ball guide. But the way it's probably going to go for me is one of these clubs will open up that'll compete with the Machete as far as distance. I'm looking for distance, and I would like to have some ball guide. I like the accuracy. There's things that I like about right here, and there's things that I don't. I wish that I had more ball guide. Like if there was one thing that I'd add on here, it would be nice to have more ball guide. And distance is key with a rough iron. But right now, this rough iron is not too bad if it had more ball guide, and it never really gets a lot. I think the Razor is the one that'll take its place. The Razor starts off at 100 accuracy, and it's almost the same distance, but I think it picks up some distance pretty quick. So the Razor is probably going to be the one that'll take its place, and it's got good ball guide. And the Machete will become a specialty club only when you need. And with the sand wedges, I'm not sure if I get, there'll probably be a progression in here as far as some club possibly being better than the Malibu. As far as it might have more power and stuff, but the accuracy that's on here is really good. And the ball guide is really good because most of your sand shots, either you're way far away, just barely able to get on, or you're super close, and the super close ones are more likely. So it gives you a lot of the stuff that you need when you're close up. All right, that was just a little bit on clubs. So like picking clubs. So if we've got a low level account, I've got 2 different bags. Let me switch this back up. I've got 2 bags, Extra Mile, Viper, Backbone, Kingfisher. Really my only other obvious choice would be a Big Dog, but if I'm using a big club to try and get into one that's a little more accurate. And that Viper will hurt me sometimes because it doesn't have the top spin that I'd like. QB. And it's arguable, depending on the tour that you're playing, you're going to change these out because you may want a QB Big Dog. The Big Dog's an awesome club. You know, when you look at a Big Dog as far as accuracy, it's got a lot more distance, got a lot more top spin, it's similar backspin, lots of curl. It's ball guide blows. I mean, it is a great club. It's just not very accurate, and it doesn't have very good ball guide. It's not very accurate, and you can't see where you're going. So it's like me, it's somebody with bad vision. Long iron, it could be argued which way you want to go, the Saturn or the Backbone. You're going to get similar stuff. Really, when you get them up into these levels, the backspin on the Backbone at this point is still pretty close. When that Saturn gets the rest of its backspin, or if it gets more ball guide, these can go either way. I don't mind the 51 accuracy. That 2 per ring is pretty easy to adjust out. You don't have to hardly remember anything. That's why 100% accurate and around 50% accurate clubs aren't that bad. An Extra Mile at 2.1 is not that bad. Because if you just think 2.0, you're going to, in most cases, be pretty close to the area that you wanted to get to. So it's easy to do the numbers on them. A little bit more distance with the Backbone, a little bit better accuracy. I'm trying to get used to hitting a club like that because I'm playing with my Grizzly on the other end, and it doesn't have quite as much backspin as the Saturn. So I'm trying to learn, like, when you come at it, since you don't have as much backspin, you got to look at it a little different. That's why I've been playing with my Backbone in this account. Kingfisher, I'm sold on the Kingfisher when you got lower developed stuff, because it gets its accuracy really quick and ball guide. Firefly, I'm definitely sold on the Firefly. I just can't move off of those. And then the Malibu, the Machete and the Malibu are just going to change as clubs get presented. But they're not bad clubs to start off with if you have low-level accounts. The Machete can help you out a lot. And it's got tons of backspin, which means you can stick it right by the hole. And the Malibu will help you when you're close up. All right, that was the club section. So we're through wind, we're through clubs. And so next we're going to go out and do I'm going to do some videos on shot setup. I'm going to just play some one-on-one and do some shot setup. So what you should have is your wind numbers. You got all your clubs written down. You got your wind numbers. You went through your clubs. Try to upgrade all of your clubs. The way that it worked in this account is I had 265,000 coins right now. I got it up to about 200,000 or 300,000, and I started. Up to that point, I hadn't upgraded anything except for vital clubs. Like if it was one of these clubs that you can see in these 2 bags, then that was all that I upgraded. That was it. And then I got it up to 200,000 or 300,000, and then I started upgrading my clubs. So I tried to catch them all up, and it cost me a couple $100,000 to upgrade all of my clubs, and then I'm just playing in tournaments and trying to win money in tournaments and do that, not really playing a lot of one-on-one. So keeping your clubs up to date, so that what happens is when you've got lower developed clubs, like you look at some clubs later on in the game and you go, man, that club's not whatever. And you're absolutely right. But at some point in your progression, that club overtook the machete, and it may have only overtook it for, a week or two, because during that week or two, maybe you went up to the next tour, you finally got a club that you didn't have, and you started getting cards for it, and now all of a sudden it's better than that club. And so some of these clubs down here that we don't play with anymore, you may have played with them for a little bit as you were going up, but some of these clubs, even the very first time I came through here, I totally discounted the Kingfisher. I never played with the Kingfisher the first time up, because I didn't realize that instead of with short irons, I should be looking at different numbers. I should be looking at accuracy, and I should be looking at ball guide, and all the rest of that stuff is fluff. And the fact that it has some topspin now, and it's got backspin, and you have to have a little bit of backspin with a short iron, and it doesn't have to have this much, and it has a lot. So there's a lot of things that you can get done with the Kingfisher, even though when it's low level, a lot of times that you just discount it because you see more of the other clubs out there. All right, that was clubs. I will be back, and we'll be out on the course, and we'll start with club placement. Thanks for watching.